So welcome everybody. Happy Friday to everybody. And we're doing another. I think this is probably my fifth Digital Dungeon Master vodcast. So welcome everybody. Good to see everybody here. Tweet it out that we're live, guys. And tonight I've got a very special guest with the Fantasy Grounds College. This is Laerun. He's the big cheese. Laerun's the big cheese, the big honcho, the head honcho, the man in charge. He's the Hefe. So I'd like to welcome Laerun. Thanks for coming on the vodcast, man. It's nice that we've actually found time to put this together and get it done.
Yeah, I was just kind of waiting for the stream to start, and I was thinking, have I made it to the big times yet? We got my stripes yet?
You've got a good thing going over there, man. I mean, first off, we've been talking for probably at least a year now. I'd say probably close to a year because you started the FGC about a year ago or so, and so we've been talking back and forth, and we've come up with a couple of plans, which actually I'm getting close to actually doing on the website. If you know what we're talking about, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I'm actually at a point now to where I can actually start getting more things done, and now I'm in the process of hiring a social media specialist or expert, and I've talked to 4 people so far. And I'm liking what I'm hearing, and I probably should have something to announce here in the next couple of days, and I'll start having a lot more of a social media presence starting in August. So looking forward to that. That's for sure. I mean, to take one layer, and I know, dude, I'm busy, and I know you're busy. So because of the size of your Discord community and stuff. And if I can take 1 or 2 layers of stuff off of my plate to where I can do more stuff like this and add more content to my website, I'm all for it. So,
gotcha.
But anyway, Laerun, man. Laerun. How do you officially say it? Is it Laerun or Laerun or?
It's Laerun.
Laerun. Okay, so there you go, everybody. It's Laerun. And I have been butchering another word in the English language. So... But anyway, I like what you're doing with Fantasy Grounds College and all that good stuff. So, I got a question that I've been wanting to ask you, and this is ever since we put this together.
Sure.
How in the hell did you come up with this hairball idea to put together the FGC, and how did it come about? And I know you had a name previously before FGC, so why don't you tell us how you got started and all that good stuff? I got all right. This.
So actually, I purchased Fantasy Grounds in 2011, and they didn't even have the license for D&D at that time. And I thought I made a good move, and I bought the $40 package, and I was all excited, and I got to it, and I'm like, what is this? I had no idea what it was. I didn't read the manual. I didn't read the instructions.
I didn't even know. It, man. Seriously, no. I don't think anybody does.
It's horrible.
And I work in support, so.
So I kind of looked at this thing, and I'm like, wow, okay. So I uninstalled it, and I was kind of mad at myself for wasting $40. I mean, that's what I thought at the time. So a guy at work hit me up about a year ago in January, and he says, what do you think of Fantasy Grounds? And I said, I think I have that software somewhere. Yeah, I do. I'm a license holder. And he goes, well, let's check it out. So all we ever did was hook the client up, and we chatted on it. We never even played. It was like, what? So once I saw that, I was like, okay, it works. Now let me figure it out. So I went and bought a couple books. And as soon as I got that player's handbook and the monster manual, I was hooked. I went right to the store, did the upgrade within a month. If you looked at my purchase history, you'll see that, if you have access to that.
Oh, I got access to it. I'm going to take everything off of it, too. No, and I'll put something crazy on there.
But anyhow, I just did that, and then I decided to run a game and see how that went, because I've had many years of D&D experience from my past. I mean, I was DMing since I was about 12. And I just thought that, D&D kind of came and went in my life, but at this time my children are getting old enough so I don't have to constantly, help them all the time. So I picked the hobby back up and I started a table. And those players that played with me were really key to this because I realized that a lot of us didn't know what we were doing. And there was a few of us that were more experienced that actually taught me a lot. So I'm
Yeah.
very grateful for those initial players that I had because it kind of broke me in. So anyways, I got into doing this gig, and we ran this campaign for about 3 or 4 months, and it got very difficult to keep that table together because they tend to come and go. I had like 4 key players, and then I had about 3 drifters. And I got kind of frustrated, to be honest, and I shut the table down. I said, no, this is not working for me. It's not consistent enough. I didn't have the knowledge that I needed. Maybe it was me, I don't know. But I kind of broke that game up, and a lot of my players were disappointed with me. But at the same time, I was still learning Fantasy Grounds, and I'm like, you know what? I have a lot to learn. I need to do something. So I started bugging people on the official forums. One of the things I had trouble with is those coding effects, and that's what drove me to the forums. And that was
The
my
effects,
first.
yeah.
I mean, I get the DM part, but I didn't know all the automation. I didn't know you had all this stuff available to you, and I was just kind of running it like a tabletop, a regular face-to-face. And I thought, wow, there's much more to this. I got to look into this. So I started researching, and I finally come up with this idea to train somebody. My first student was actually a guy from Scotland. His name's Patty. And he and I got together, and he met me through the official Fantasy Grounds forums. And he wrote back to me. He says, "Hey, I want to check this out." So I got together with him. I showed him what I knew, and he just ran with it. He started his own European community, and he touched bases with me, and we'd play every now and then. And I said, we should probably think about doing this more often because there's a lot of people that want to play that don't understand how it works. So Patty kind of just took it and said, you know what, I'm going to close my server. I'm going to bring all my people to yours. So we had about maybe 30 people. And shortly after that, I started watching more and more of your videos, and I realized that, geez, there's a ton to learn here. So I kind of took those videos, those earlier ones that you did, some of my own experience, and then I took the experience from the people that I played with to formulate this idea of, okay, this is something that's missing. This is really something that needs to happen in order for this to continue. So instead of whining and bitching and griping about what I didn't know and what I didn't understand, I went ahead and did something about it. And that's when I formulated this idea to start the college. And it wasn't even called the college. It's called the D&D 5e Church.
I remember that, yeah.
And a lot of people were really kind of like, that's a little off-putting. We need to change that. And so as I grew the community, they voted me out. I was the only one that wanted to keep that name because I did it once of every Sunday is the day I had. Then it became every other day. Then it became all weekend and 2 days a week. And now it's damn near every day.
Remember that conversation that we had too?
I do.
And I've had this conversation with a couple of the streamers, and I've learned this over the past 5 years, and you can invest a lot of time into this. And I remember telling you, I was like, man, you gotta be careful because you're starting to bite off more than you can chew.
You're not kidding.
Like, dude, you got so much stuff going on, man. That's crazy.
You are not kidding. It has really been a test of my family life, for one, affecting my work a little bit, my sleeping patterns, all that stuff was kind of getting out of control. But when I started enlisting good people out there that want to learn how to play Fantasy Grounds and that enjoy the hobby, it's taken a little bit of that burden off me, and that's really nice. There's some really talented people that come through FGC. So it's not just like we have a bunch of learners. We have a lot of professional people that come through there. Yeah, they may not know Fantasy Grounds right off the bat, but they know a lot of other stuff that contributes to the hobby. Yeah. Cartographers, writers, actors, I mean, just you name it, man. There's a lot of talent, and that's one of the things that really draws me to have the community. Is I like that aspect of it as well. Is there's some really good talented people out there.
Yeah, I've that is the best part to me, and that's why I've continued to do this. And it's been such a roller coaster, lots of highs and lots of lows, but the community is always the reason that just it's what kept me motivated, And I can't tell you how many awesome people that I have met. I would be here all night, talking about all these great people. But yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. So how many total members are you up to now? I remember the last time I checked in, I think you were at about 800 or so. I bet you've grown since then.
Last time I looked, it was yesterday. I'm kind of afraid, but it was like 2,400, almost 2,500 people. Oh my gosh,
man, that is absolutely, that's a lot of people. I always had my Discord server was always just for my patrons, and within the last couple of months, I've opened it up to where all of the text channels are all open community. And man, I have seen a massive amount of people join as well. So that just goes to say that's just that many more awesome people that I've met.
Oh yeah,
and I spend hours just talking with people and getting to know them, and it's a fun part of doing what we do. The type of things of what we do. So wow,
yeah, I thought that was
100 people, man. That's
a lot.
Insane. I think you might have more than a Fantasy Grounds server
No.
now.
They're about 3.5.
Are they at 3.5? Yeah.
Trust me, we checked.
You'll probably catch them and pass them. So
We'll
what
see.
about your? You talk about your teachers, your instructors, and stuff. So tell us a little bit about So basically, everybody out there that's watching this, you can go sign up for the Fantasy Grounds College Discord server. You can find classes depending on your time zone, wherever you're at in the world. I know that there's a lot of different time zones for classes. So how many classes do you have going now, Laerun? Tell us a little bit about how to become an instructor if somebody's interested in doing that, and etc.
All right, so normally when people come in, they want to play, right? That's the first thing. I've spent that whole year of trying not to make it a game server, which is a really weird thing to say, but to keep it organized and to keep it from, having one person come in, take 12 people and leave, I try to keep the community together, and that's why we're more focused on education. So with that in mind, when people come in and learn, we do pitch to them occasionally, would you like to help out here? Because I noticed that you picked this up right away and you really like this. Or even if the person doesn't know a lot about Fantasy Grounds or even D&D, just the enthusiasm and the willingness to be in the community to help out and to direct people and to talk to people and to give them resource links that we have set up in the college. And also we've starting to build up a little library, videos, and things like that. But to come into the college, you really don't have to do anything. It's free. You just come in, you tell us your story, and we try to point you in the right direction. That's really what we're doing. I mean, if you're a gamer and you just want a game, yeah, we have a few practice games, but we also have a list of affiliated servers like you and Rob and Geo and people like that are more into the more of the gaming side, of Fantasy Grounds. And then we have, people that are learning to be DMs or want to learn how to be a player, and we'll have some practice one shots, or if let's say if you had a new module you wanted to test, you can run it in there and you can get it.
Oh, nice.
Things like that. So that's kind of how we have it set up. And what we do is we talk to the individuals that are interested. We give them a different role and we give them a purpose, whether it be to instruct or to direct traffic or to create stuff for the college, or like you were saying, to be a social media person, or whatever needs to happen to make that run. I mean, I'm all for getting help. Even if you don't teach and you're doing something else to help the community, that's what I'm looking for. I mean, you don't have to be a teacher. Some people just want to come in and DM. Well,
Yeah.
I'm cool with that as long as it's new player friendly, and you're not just yanking people out of the server to go. I don't mind to do that, but that's not the purpose of it.
And it's nice because, for what you do and the classes, because let's face it, there is a little bit steeper learning curve with Fantasy Grounds compared to the other virtual tabletops out there. But then again, on the other side of that, the other virtual tabletops don't have half as much functionality and all the bells and whistles and automation. We have like an 80, 89 to 90+% automation. And, the more you use the program, obviously, you're going to find out multiple ways to do things. There's so many different ways to do the same thing, and that's one thing that I've learned in Fantasy Grounds since I've been using it for years now. And, when I first started, I didn't have the luxury of having an outlet like the Fantasy Grounds College. That was non-existent. There were a couple of tutorial videos, but I mean, they were just, I really didn't get too much out of them. So that's why I basically said, okay, I'm learning this program. I'm clicking on every single button. I'm going to figure out what every single thing does, and I'm going to start making videos. And that's what I did. I just started making Fantasy Grounds videos, and I absolutely love the program. And it's nice not only being a consumer of the product. I also work full time for Fantasy Grounds now, and I've gotten a lot of emails to support that I've actually directed over to you guys, for your classes and stuff like that. Of course, I put together, screenshot tutorials to help them get their settings all straight so they can find the modules that they purchased. But, for the real meat of learning Fantasy Grounds, man, I'm like the guys over at Fantasy Grounds College. Those guys are awesome. And we got to get you on Fantasy Grounds Fridays too.
We'll do that someday.
To get you, yeah.
I'd like to meet you guys.
Yeah, I'm starting to get some people lined up like Trenlo and Dan and Akil and stuff. So hopefully we can get you on as well. And I'm gonna kind of surprise Doug when Doug's on vacation this week. So I'm gonna give him a whole list of people that's gonna be showing back up on Fantasy Grounds Friday. So I'm sure he'll probably.
That's great. I'm really liking that show. That was one of the things I griped about to Doug. I wrote him a business letter when I first got into Fantasy Grounds because I was a little bit concerned about the growth of the other virtual tabletops. So I wrote him a real long, nasty letter. I'll show it to you someday. But it was really meant professionally. It wasn't like just to nag. It was just basically, hey, you guys need to do something about your advertising, and you need to do this, and you need to do that. And I was basically trying to lay down the law as a consumer. But then I said, you know what? I'm also doing Fantasy Grounds at the college at the very end of that letter. So I had a lot of gripes. But then at the end, I said, I'm going to do my part. You guys do yours. Is how I ended that.
Well, most virtual tabletops out there, they usually have some type of, stream or something like that. And, I've DM'd for Doug and John and Carl and the guys before. A couple of years ago, we did some Adventurers League stuff. We did some Storm King's Thunder. But, when I first came on with Fantasy Grounds, we wanted to do something more and involve the community. And, coming up with Fantasy Grounds Fridays, that was an idea that we had. And plus to have guests on. And we want to expand on that more to where it's just not Fantasy Grounds users. We want to have other people from the NASA, from NASA, or so we're reaching out to other places. So we're just trying to broaden the horizons, and we've had a little dry spell recently with guests, but we've got the con season coming up. We had a string of like 17 or so shows in a row with guests. So now we're starting to broaden our horizons, reach out to other genres and fields and stuff to get people in. So, but yeah, I always direct people, and it's always nice to see you in the chat with Fantasy Grounds Fridays. And hey, go to these guys; they know what you're doing. So I'm taking it you're probably lacking teachers, huh? And you're probably looking for teachers.
Always.
Especially
I never
with
have
that 2,400 membership list you have in Discord.
Oh yeah. I had somebody come in and question what we were doing, and it was very passive aggressive kind of way of saying, "Hey, what the hell?" But actually, it got me thinking. It was actually a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me that this individual was questioning, like, "What are you doing? What's going to happen when you train everybody? Where are they supposed to go? Or what are they going to do when when you guys aren't around?" So I got to thinking about that, the longevity, and everything comes to an end, no matter what. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
So right now we're on the upscale, and I know we're going to plateau, and then maybe someday we'll go down. But I will not feel bad about that because I know I've done my part. So I'm not going to look
for
back.
sure. Yeah.
I feel like, hey, I've contributed to the hobby. I'm doing what I can to make sure that people are playing and they're getting together and they're doing what they need to do through the different RPG systems through Fantasy Grounds. And that's really how I feel about it. I just want people to play. And I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, so I've actually been a teacher as well, because most of the players that I have in my games have never ever used Fantasy Grounds, and that's been for years now. So it is important to have people, and we've talked about me coming over there and doing some stuff as well. And now that my schedule has freed up, I'm having more time to do stuff like this. And I'll be able to I'm coming over next weekend, I think next Saturday.
Yeah,
we're going to be helping you with one of the classes, and that's something that I would like to also participate, because you put the good word out for Fantasy Grounds, and it's it's the least that I can do is come over and help as well. So
I appreciate that. Just having
and I'm
you
looking
come
forward
by
to it, actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
because I'm going to tell everybody to hit Alt F4. And I'm just
F4 now. Yeah,
just right click and just X out. No, I'm just
it's really great when I have like you, Rob, Geo, the streaming community coming by and helping us out. And that's one thing I worked on in the beginning, is to get that understanding of how that works, how the community works on the streams. Also, I really dug deep on the cartographers. I did a really big show in January. I don't know if you ever seen any of that, but it was a pretty big show. It's 4 hours.
Wow.
And we had, Zovia and all those guys on that show.
Yeah,
we even got Dyson.
Something like that.
Yeah, we
really?
got Dyson logos
nice.
on there, and it was incredible. It was a really informative show. I wish it could have been live like we're doing now. But it was basically a PowerPoint, and what I did is I had all the different artists' artwork displayed, and as we went through them, we discussed, some of their artwork and their link. It was a big commercial, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because it was, I got to talk to all these cool mappers that I really like that contribute to the hobby. So that was cool.
Zoe can make some hell of good maps, man. Let me tell you. She's super talented, man.
Yeah, I really like her stuff. She's been really nice to me too.
One of the bigger companies needs to pick her up.
I'm telling you, there's a few of them out there.
Oh yeah, there is. There's a lot of people out there that have skills with cartography. Me, man, I'm not. I can't even barely draw a stick figure. So and now I'm fixing to get into starting to paint minis. And that's going to be an absolute train wreck because, number one, I'm wearing glasses now and my eyes haven't really adjusted to having them on all the time. So, man, I'm going to be Stevie Wonder, man, like Whiz Kids. I'm going to be painting eyes on the back of the heads and stuff. And
paint by Braille.
And you'll be able to watch it live. Yeah, exactly. Paint by Braille with the digital Dungeon Master.
You should call it that.
Oh, that's actually a good idea. But,
or Dave Ross does digital painting.
Yeah, but that would sound so creepy because I would so get into it. And I remember watching Bob Ross as a kid growing up, on public access on Channel 24 because I lived in Florida my whole life basically, and in Orlando there was Channel 24 and you could pick it up on the old antenna and you'd watch Doctor Who or some crazy sci-fi movie, but Bob Ross, man, oh yeah, those trees are so awesome. Oh yeah.
It's a happy accident.
Yeah, and he was like kind of humping the easel and stuff. I don't know. It's just kind of crazy. I got to get an afro wig though. You know what? You know what? That's probably what I'll do. I'll find a Bob Ross wig when I start painting my minis, and maybe I'll get one of those little painting easels or something they held. I don't know what their official name is, but yeah, that'll be cool. So
that might be entertaining.
It'll be a train wreck, but it would be gold to watch though. All the miniatures that I'm going to be ruining. Oh my gosh, because I just bought a bunch of those terrain crates, so I'm going to be learning how to paint fences and stuff like that first. So get your rubber gloves because I'm going to be wearing them and I'm going to be snapping them on. So you guys have been around a year now. And I know that you have a big event coming up next weekend, right? For the 1 year anniversary. It's what, Thursday to Sunday or something like that?
Well, midnight, Thursday night all the way till Sunday late. We have quite a few games scheduled right now, and they're not all just D&D. We have Savage Worlds and Call of Cthulhu, and I think we have a Starfinder in there. And basically,
these are to my ears.
That was one of my goals for this year, was to have the diversity in the college. We didn't want to have just D&D all the time. We actually have a guy.
Elephant in the room.
That's right. We have a guy in our college, Nerd Herder, and in his title it says non-5e. You probably talked to him, Boffrin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know who Boffrin is.
Yeah, you know Boffrin.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, Yeah, he's been an advocate for everything but D&D 5e.
So I love 5e. I mean, don't get me wrong.
I love
5e, but I've been playing it 5 years solid. And in fact, it even, I go back to playing it for a year before it was even released, when it was still D&D Next. So, even if you love something so much, you got to take a break from it from time to time. And Laerun, I have gotten flack for stepping away from D&D and I'm only going to be stepping away until November when Undermountain comes out.
Oh yeah.
And we're playing some Savage Worlds. We're wrapping up my last Lost Mine of Fendelver. We're going into some Starfinder for a couple of months. And man, I have actually caught some flack for that.
I bet.
Take your shots. I mean, I mean, there's nothing else I can do. I mean, I just need to take a little break from it. But I love 5e. Oh, I can't believe you're just trash talking it. People love to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, I knew that we were going to have to diversify if we're going to be successful. And another thing is cross training. I'm going to learn how to do Savage Worlds because I've actually never truly played it as a tabletop or face to face. So I figured, Fantasy Grounds will make it easier for me to break me into it. Yeah, and I like the simplicity of the system. It's really nice.
Yeah, that's one thing. It's a very simple system. It's generic. It's universal. So if you play Deadlands, then the mechanics are the same, depending on if you play Weird Wars, which is like a vampire and werewolf demons type of World War II setting, or you can go to The Last Parsec, which is sci-fi. There's so many fan-made settings out there, like Savage Worlds Star Wars has a 100-page PDF, everything to do with Star Wars. Someone took a lot of the core stuff from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, converted it to Savage Worlds. There's so much stuff out there, and there's a lot of free stuff out there. But of course, you'll have to input all of that data into Fantasy Grounds, which can take a little bit of time, but it's like, to go back to the rule set, it's one of the most automated rule sets that we have. Besides 5e and Pathfinder, and Savage Worlds, all three of those are on the same level for automation. And
I was told that it's done well, and I've actually invested in a lot of the Mojo and Caesarian stuff.
Yeah, Akil, man, has done such a great job on because when I first got into Fantasy Grounds, the Savage Worlds rule set was nothing like it is now, and Akil has done such an unbelievable job. And in fact, I'm meeting with Akil tomorrow, and he's going to he reached out to me because of my 50 Fathoms game, and he goes, "Hey man, I want to show you totally everything about the Savage Worlds rule set." So I know that I'm going to learn so much about the Savage Worlds rule set, and I can't wait to get with them.
So we're getting Savage Worlds a little bit, and we're starting to get some Starfinder and a little bit of Pathfinder and Cthulhu. So those are the main genres that are going in the college. And when we train to Fantasy Grounds for people to learn, we're not really necessarily showing you the rule set. We want to show you how Fantasy Grounds works. So that's our goal, even though I use 5e because it's easy for me to use. We tell the teachers, if you want to use like Savage Worlds or a different rule set, let them know that don't be afraid to learn on this system, because you're going to learn a lot of the key elements for any of the rules, because most of them are based on that core. Yeah, so that's how we handle
RPG. That. So yeah, exactly.
Yep. So that's how we handle that. And we're all volunteers, and sometimes our schedules are kind of a little kind of meager at times, but for the most part, I would say we have at least 4 or 5 classes a week going. And tomorrow I'm teaching a Dungeon Masters class, which is basically showing them how it's laid out and giving them examples of each little piece of the the different categories of how to set those up and how to set up an encounter, and even reinforcing the idea that they can bring in their own maps and talk to them about some external tools. Like you remember you did the thing on the what was it, the token advantage, roll advantage token, stuff like that. So I made a resource list for those sort of things in the college, and I also linked to like places where this is how you synchronize your account, so and it's trying to give you and Zach and everybody else that helps over there a break. I mean, there's a lot to deal with. I mean, it's not just Fantasy Grounds. You have account issues. You have, people griping that they don't like the software, or they like it but they don't want to buy it, and there's a whole bunch of we get a little bit of that in here too. So
there's some of the other tabletops out there, they have free versions, and we have a free version as well, but it doesn't have all of the options. They're pretty much locked away. But it is exactly what it says, the demo version. There are some changes coming to the demo version, some good changes coming. We've also talked about that on Fantasy Grounds Fridays, so that's something that I can mention here. So, the program's ever evolving. I mean, the program's been around since 2004, and you buy it once, and that's why it's a little bit more, is because you get lifetime updates. I mean, some people have owned it since 2004, 2006, and just think how the program has evolved since back then. So, yeah, I mean, the program's ever evolving. So,
yeah, it's looking really good these days. And one thing, or I say a few things I really like about Fantasy Grounds, above and beyond just rule sets, is the fact that you can use the software without being connected to the internet. Exactly. Which is incredible. So you can be up camping as long as you got cell battery for your laptop. You can work on a campaign, or you can run a game right at the dang picnic table at the campfire.
That's it. Break out your big TV, set it down flat on the table, and you're ready to roll, man.
And then I like it that you don't have to to be into a website to access your books. Like if you didn't want to look something up, it's right there. You don't have to get online and log in and all this other stuff. I mean, you're pretty much there. So yeah. I appreciate that about Fantasy Grounds, as being a client as opposed to a web-based product.
A lot of people use it for a tool as well as a DM aid. I use it to read the reference manuals. I'm a huge book collector. I have tons and tons of books, and I catch myself reading more of the reference manuals now, just because it's just more convenient, and but a lot of people are starting to use Fantasy Grounds around the table. They're embedding TVs into tables. I'm going to be doing that when I rebuild my studio here in a couple months.
Sweet.
And yeah, so I'll be doing back and forth between using all of my piezo flip maps, D&D tiles, all that other stuff, and switching to the monitor as well. So, Fantasy Grounds is a good tool not only to play, but you can use it as a DM aid, and also use it for the reference manual. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I like the all the new third-party stuff that's coming out that Fantasy Grounds has been incorporating. So it's not just WotC and the main players. It's actually third-party people.
Yeah.
For instance, Chris, one of my friends, I encouraged him to get on there. Now he's got a map set up there.
Awesome.
There's just things like that adds to the amount of content, and not to mention getting Rob's stuff up on the DM's Guild and having him help you guys convert stuff over. It's incredible.
Too, yeah. And
he's.
Oh, go ahead, man. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying he's done a lot of work for the community too.
Yeah, he has
a lot.
He's done a lot of the legwork of the stuff that people don't know how to do, like effects, conditions, etc. Made some fantastic modules and stuff. And plus, when you see him when he's on cam, he's got a Velvet Millennium Falcon in the background, and I know that thing too. Even though it's the Enterprise, I call it the Velvet Millennium Falcon. It's sort of like a joke thing that we do, but I'm gonna have that one day. I'm gonna have that.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna buy that from him one day.
I'll flip it. I'll flip you for it.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse or something. I'll say I'll give you a bunch of minis or something for it. So
I don't know.
Oh, go ahead, man.
No, you go ahead, dude.
No, I was just gonna say, what kind of future plans? Fantasy Grounds College is on the up and up. It keeps growing. What type of plans do you have that you've been thinking about, or that you would like to implement for the future of Fantasy Grounds College, just so it doesn't have that plateau and then the descent and
right.
the mass, everybody leaves and stuff. So what's going on with the future of FGC?
Okay, well, the one thing that's still ongoing that I'm really, really focused on is diversification. Of course, always get new teachers and help. And those are the basics. If I can do those things well, then sort of the rest kind of falls in place. Another thing is to get a little bit more social media presence. I mean, I've been doing a lot of that myself. We're working on a new website now. I actually have volunteers helping me work on the website and trying to get something going, make that more clean and refined. Another thing is to actually, we thought about making a separate Unity team and actually getting a whole new server up and going and keeping that on the alpha until it comes out to beta, and then start migrating the server back to this. So we're actually going to set up a new server. Once we start getting alpha, we're just going to build a whole new college with Unity in mind. So that's basically the direction I want to go with future plans.
It's cool, man. Especially when Unity comes out and you can start putting the assets into Fantasy Grounds and start organizing them, start building your own maps, have as many layers that you want, and an infinite basically there's no limit. I mean, you can put 1,000 tiles across. I mean, supposedly this is, and this is what the video states as well that we have on Fantasy Grounds. Your basically your platform is going to be an open canvas, and there's going to be no restrictions. So it's not going to be like some of the map builders out there where there's like an 8,000 pixel max across or a 10,000. There's probably going to be no limit here, which is going to be awesome. And plus with the animated, the rain, the snow, the wind, the lightning, oh man, that's going to be butter, man.
So we're going to try to work with you guys on making some sort of reporting system. I'm not sure how that's going to work in the future, but I'm already thinking of ideas for Alpha team to start submitting some of the data that they've come across while experimenting and trying to use the software. So I think that'll be valuable to the developers as time goes on.
Sure. We're a small company. We don't have a beta testing team. Any of the patch notes that we put out, we always advertise, we need you guys to get onto the test server, try the changes, and let us know if anything's, broken or not working. So, but the company relies on the community heavily for that, and the fantasy grounds is so blessed to have the community that it does. I mean, it is the best community out there. I mean, for virtual tabletops. I mean, I'm on the forums every day, and it's just it's a lot better than a lot of it's not as it's I don't even think it's not even it is it's a good community. It's not toxic. There's not a lot of crap going on. Plus, there's a lot of moderators that take care of anything that happen, and it's a good place to be. And there's a lot of games going on. I mean, you can apply for games. We got the calendar, we've got Adventurers League, Pathfinder Society. I'm sure Starfinder Society is going to be on there soon. So there's all kinds of ways to get involved.
Yep, that's something that we do in the college a little bit. Like we'll advertise the games and try to get people to get their sea legs, so to speak, so they're not feeling so embarrassed or so overwhelmed with the interface. But this week when we do the Founders Day Festival, I mean, we're literally going to halt the classes. Now, we're not going to stop teaching people, but what we're going to do is offer games. And there's going to be a ton of them. Right now,
Nice.
We've got at least 20 of them lined up for people to play in, and they need to fill. Because normally it's the other way around.
Sets too?
Most of them, not all of them, but most of them.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
We got a couple of homebrew in there. We got some interesting, people that want to try their hand at making their own module and testing it. And they're actually testing them right now.
That's good.
So, yeah. And I think some of the workshops in the future they want to do is some more module building. And based on the data I'm getting, they want this DM class. So I'm going to have to get a couple more people that want to teach DM classes, because I'm myself and two other guys are teaching that, and it fills up quick. Every time I post a class, I posted one Tuesday or something like that, it's already almost full, and it's tomorrow. I don't have any trouble filling that class. That's the most requested class. I was surprised. I thought it'd be player, and character creation. We have a little bit more of those, because that's usually what people want is to play. But there's a lot of people that want to learn how to DM, and they've done it for years, and they want to learn how to do it on Fantasy Grounds.
That's good. That's a good thing. And that's good for for the genre, and it's good for the future of Fantasy Grounds as well. So. Oh
yeah, usually, not always, but usually the DMs are the ones that buy the stuff.
You're right.
The collections.
You're absolutely right, because honestly, there's really no reason for the players to buy any of it. But there would be
they don't have to unless they want to.
There will be some more player stuff coming in the future too. So, anyways, why don't we take some questions from the chat? I'm sure that there are lots of people that are jonesing to ask you questions, Laerun. So, if you guys out there in the Matrix and in the Twitch channel, why don't you go ahead and ask the questions, and Laerun will answer them as best as he can, or tell you to hit Alt F4. So. So once again, man, I totally appreciate you coming on, Laerun. It's this has been in the works for some time, and it's really nice to actually meet. That's a good question. Chris has a question. How did you and I meet, actually, Laerun? I think it was just through Discord, wasn't it? I think it was just a personal message that was sent, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it Chris with the K?
Chris from GTW, yeah. Chris.
I actually reached out to him because of that map thing, because he's a cartographer. So I actually reached out to him and I said, wait a minute. I first started as a consumer. I'm like, okay, I love his maps. I'm going to buy some. And then when I decided to do the map summit, I said, okay, well, I want to invite this guy for sure. And I bugged the crap out of him about Fantasy Grounds and this and this and that. And I think the first response he gave me was something like, well, I'm playing with my friends. I think we play the other virtual tabletop. And I was like, oh, no. So I had to definitely get up there and try to convert him over for sure.
Yeah, he was asking how we met, too. I think it was just through Discord. I think
Yeah,
it was just a
actually,
random message. I think you reached out to me and we just started talking about, Fantasy Grounds College and what you were doing and stuff. And at that point in time, I was pulling my hair out running, 7, 8 games
oh yeah.
and doing, and I was so strapped for time, and
Yeah, I
but
think I
yeah,
reached out to you after watching about 50 of your videos 100 times. And I think I said, hey, I got this college and I wanted you to, acknowledge me, basically, come on,
yeah,
help me out here, bro. And you
yeah,
did.
yeah,
I was surprised. You said, I like that idea. So you put me on one of your vodcasts like this, and I think it was in October was the
yeah,
first time you did that. And
yeah.
you called it the church then because we hadn't even changed the name
Yeah,
yet.
it was still the church then. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. Yeah,
And then
and
after that, you've done a couple other shout outs for me. And then even Dave's doing it, or Doug, excuse me.
yeah,
He's doing it too now. And then Rob does it all the time. He comes in here and drops us free stuff. And, he does kind of the same thing you do. When he has people that come in a server that need help, he sends them over here.
yeah,
Geo does the same thing. So I
yeah.
really appreciate you guys. You guys are, I want to say you guys are trailblazers for the Fantasy Grounds run that we have right now. So all of you guys have really inspired me and the community to play role-playing games online and meet up with people that we haven't talked to in years. We're
That's the
we're
beauty of it.
talking to, yeah. I really, I get a lot of thank yous. I get guys that come in that say, "Hey, I haven't talked to my kids in a while. Now we're playing." I've got
Wow.
guys who are in the military says, "Hey, I haven't seen my military buddies, but we're getting together once a week now and playing on Fantasy Grounds." There's guys that haven't played in 30 years that are coming to the college and are saying, "Man, this is so cool, and I wish I would have found this sooner." And I thank you guys, and I'm getting together with people, and I'm coming out of my shell because I'm just sitting around the house, drinking beer, watching TV. They want to do something different, and this is actually a good avenue to explore that part of yourself again.
And it brings back up, I've had some emails too saying, "Oh man, thanks so much for, your videos. It's allowed me and my friends that, we're all in college now in different places and or the military, some guys are over in Iraq in the thick of things and or Pakistan and they're back playing with their family here in the States. And it's just so nice to, that's the beautiful thing about, Al Gore's internet and stuff that, he's made for us that we can do stuff like this. So, thank you, Al
I
Gore.
agree.
That's all I can say. Thanks, Al Gore.
Yeah. I mean, another thing is the college that we kind of do on the side that, I don't want to make a big spectacle out of it, but we have a lot of people that come in that have disabilities. We have people that are deaf or mute or whatever, and then we have people that are autistic, people that have learning disabilities, and people that are really super shy and have anxiety. I mean, there's all spectrum of different people that come through that actually find an outlet through this type of gaming. And it's a really good thing. I mean, I'm really proud of that fact that FGC has been able to touch and reach out to some of those people. I mean, I have to admit, it doesn't always work out, but 90% of the time it does. And it's a good thing. So I'm really happy about that.
Awesome. So everybody's being shy, Laerun. You
Hmm.
guys get asked some questions. We need some questions, guys. If we're not gonna have any questions, we're gonna wrap things up because I don't want to hold Laerun up. So if you guys have any questions, ask now. So why don't you go ahead and tell us how we can get a hold of you, the Fantasy Grounds College, and all that good stuff. And we'll get that all put into the chat for you as well. And when I post this on my YouTube channel, I'll also have all of that pertinent information in the comment
Appreciate it.
section below. So
So really, honestly, if you just search for Fantasy Grounds College, you're gonna find something.
yeah,
We have a
oh yeah,
Twitter, we have Facebook, we have an older web page that's kind of a placeholder for right now that you can go there, and our join code is right on the front page. There's in the forums and Fantasy Grounds forums and the looking for players, we have a sticky right on top. It
yeah,
shows there it is. If you want to, learn how to play, just go right there. Another thing is, I've seen links all over the Discords. I mean, Rob's has one, and Geo has one, and all these other people that support the college have put links to the college from their own personal server. So it's
Yeah,
not
I've
going
got
to be
one on
very
my
hard.
website as well. So
I saw that. I
yeah.
appreciate that. But there's a lot of people out there that are starting to notice, and they do appreciate what we're doing, and I appreciate them back, because we get mentions now. We during streams and stuff, we have banners all over the place, and it's coming along pretty good on the advertising thing. But my main thing right now is to recruit, to diversify, and to refine how we teach people. And we do that with a matrix that we use from a survey, which most people don't mind filling out. You know how surveys are. Who
Yeah.
likes those? Boo. But for the college, they don't mind doing it. They're willing to do that. And they also know, I tell them, hey, as an incentive to do the survey, we use that list to give out giveaways. So when we're doing the what do you call it, the festival for the Founders Festival next weekend, that's the list that I use to call up the winner. And we're going to give out an ultimate license, and I'm sure there'll be other prizes attached to that. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so that's how you can find us, is just do a Google search or go on Facebook or any of the, we're even on Reddit. I mean, we even go to that place. So
we got another question from Chris with a K. It says, Dave, Laerun, do your partners play, or are they involved in RPGs? I'll let you answer that first.
mine, far from it. She's not really a fantasy Dungeons and Dragons or a type of role-playing person. However, even though she gives me shit about it all the time, she's actually my biggest supporter. And she gives me suggestions sometimes, and she puts her 2 cents in, even if I don't want it. And she does support what I'm doing. And matter of fact, she took the kids out for dinner so they wouldn't be in the background knocking down my green screen and stuff like that. So
That's cool.
so I have to say I'm getting indirect support from her. So my partner doesn't play.
I actually don't have. I've been single for about 18 years, since my son was about 3. So no, my significant other, I guess if I split myself in half, I would say yes, my significant other half does play, but I've decided to stay single because I love the game, and I don't think that I could be in a relationship and have 3,500 miniatures displayed out in my room, or hundreds and hundreds of books. So that's why I've decided to kind of enjoy things and do the solo thing. So it would end up being like the 40-year-old virgin, man. I'd get a girlfriend. Oh, you could sell these, and dollar bills in the eyes. So no, but no, I don't have another half. So I like what I'm doing. So
I really appreciate all the people that come in and volunteer. I want to take a minute to just do a little quick shout out for them.
Absolutely.
I want to thank all. I'm not going to name everybody because, like you said, it'd be like an all-night thing. But I do want to say, you guys, that I really appreciate what you're doing. You're the ones who actually get us here. I'm just kind of the guy that thought of the idea. Without your guys' support and help and volunteering and willingness to learn and step up and fill in some of those slots and direct people and whatever you're doing in the college, I really appreciate that. I'm going to tell you now, live on air in public, that it's probably the most near and dear thing to my heart as far as this whole project goes.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, communities are everything, man. So I think we got another question. Somebody was wondering. It's actually Patty. No, it's Chris with a K again. He's the eager beaver, man. What does a teacher need to have or know to teach classes at your Fantasy Grounds College?
Okay. Well, first of all, ideally you'd want to have the ultimate license, but you don't have to necessarily. It all depends on your students, to be honest. If your students are all demos, you're probably going to want to have that ultimate. So I would say, yeah, probably an ultimate. But FGC actually takes the Patreon money that we get from donations, and we put that into buying books for staff members that stick around for a while and that actually help. So with that in mind, that's kind of how we grow the teaching base, is by providing them with some of the materials that they're going to need, and then also training them and playing games with them and all those things. So I would say if you have the DM guide, the player's handbook, and maybe the monster manual, and just the base program, or the what you call it, the $140 one everyone's afraid of. The ultimate
There's some pretty
biggie.
good sales that have been lately, especially during the stream of many eyes. It was down to $98, man.
It
it was down to $98 on sale during the stream of many eyes.
I know, I saw that. I got a couple of those, as a matter of fact.
crazy cheap. That was the cheapest I ever seen it, because usually it goes to about $116.
I actually bought the Lost Mines of Phandelver for $1.38. How does that happen? Yeah. I've never seen that before. I was like, wow, this is incredible. $1.38. Normally it's like around $10, or maybe on sale $6 or $7. No, it's $1.38 with the summer sale and the everything. If you own everything, you get a discount. You add that together, and it's rock bottom. I mean, it's almost like they're giving it away.
Yeah, it's crazy, especially with the bundle discount, and I think it was 65% off on the website or 55% off on Steam, and man, that was such a massive influx of new people. That was just unbelievable that weekend during the Stream of Many Eyes.
Oh yeah, we felt it too a little bit.
I was non-stop, buddy. I didn't leave my computer for about 2.5 days or so, 3 days.
Oh my god! When a new product drops, that's usually when we get a lot of new joins too. Once a new book comes out, we tend to get, for about 2 or 3 weeks, we get a good influx of people, and it kind of tapers off. And then when a new product gets announced, and it starts picking back up. So a lot of the WotC traffic that indirectly kind of impacts it. So once they announce a book, like at a big con or something like that, I noticed that the rate of people kind of pick up a little too.
What about time commitment if you want to teach? How much time does it take to teach a class? Can you teach 1 or 2 a week, etc.? What kind of time frames do you have?
That's generally what I ask for. It's like, if you can teach once a week for like 2 or 3 hours max, that's all I ask for. You don't need to spend every day and every waking moment. If you can teach like once or twice a week, that's all I want. You don't need to be there every day and every night. That's ridiculous. But if you want to actually just come in and just help people, just talk to them. I mean, even that helps. Even if you're not showing them anything, or you just got screenshots, like quite often someone will come in and say, I don't really have time for a lesson, but I kind of want to know how it works. So I'll do a screen share like we're doing right now, and I'll just run through some stuff real quick and show them how it works. And 8 times or 9 times out of 10, they're like, wow, I'm going to buy this program. And they do it. And then they come around and they get help, and then they go on to wherever they're going to go. So we don't really require that you stay, but while you're learning, I'd say, if you're a couple months or 3 months, if you can volunteer, maybe once every other week, or once a week, or even a couple times a month. I mean, that's great. That's, and other time zones is another thing. Is I'm trying to build the EU and Australia, and we have those are our 2 other demographic that we have for Fantasy Grounds. Europe is number 2, and believe it or not, Australia and Oceania are really growing. So those places are really hopping. So I really like to get that going and get people to help in those time zones a little bit more. And not to mention that with the help of the community and Fantasy Grounds, we've actually helped grow the Brazilian community. I've been working with Bruno 2020 and the Firestorm Gaming and all those guys, and they have a huge other virtual tabletop community that wants to look at Fantasy Grounds and have started playing. That community started off as like 10 people, and I kid you not, there's like close to 100 now. And that's incredible.
Yeah, and those areas are growing though. Like you said, the Oceanic and Australia, New Zealand, Brazil. I think Brazil's probably growing about the fastest.
Yeah,
just from the
I'm
amount
really
of emails and
shocked.
stuff. Yeah.
If they had just a little bit more language support and a little bit more, I want to say, pricing, where the pricing's a little bit
Yeah,
more
their
fair for them.
conversion is
I
like
think,
horrible.
yeah, it's like 1 to 3 or something. I already went through this with them, and their pricing for luxuries, which is like electronics and all that, is sky high. Their food is about 2/3 more in cost than we pay for ours. I mean, there's like 30 cents to a dollar basically is roughly what the ratio is. And a lot of them, they have to share, they have to pull together money just so they can all play. And I just, man, I tell you what, those sort of things make me want to reach out and help them, whether I get them a copy of Fantasy Grounds or whatever it takes to get them playing. And that's where my soft spot and my weak spot is. I really want those people to be able to play just like us in the good old US of A.
Yeah. I've actually done a lot of giveaways in the past where I've sent stuff to Brazil, and a couple of times I've actually, not only with the exchange rates, but even trying to send something to Brazil. One book I got back 3 times before I actually got it actually go through, and it was
Wow.
just, yeah, insane. So, Laerun, I appreciate you coming on, man. I really do. It's been nice. I'm so glad that we could actually do this. We'll do this again for sure in the future.